Hello, and welcome to another exciting week of questioning everything. Folks, I do apologize for the show the other day. Like I said, Daddy Duty does call. Um, and the little girl had stinky diapers, all that jazz. She wanted to stay up late, hang out with Daddy. Didn't get her to bed till around midnight or so. I was hoping to come back on, but nonetheless, I am here now with you guys. Daughter is asleep, son is asleep, house is quiet. Here to question everything with you guys tonight. So, tonight we're going to be questioning Antarctica, a frozen mystery. Vast mysteries surround that supposed continent, the continent with limited access, limited trips, limited tours. And then we're going to get to a little bit of what I had planned originally for episode 31, our open lines, some of the topics that I had for that, talking about the poisoning of our skies, and what really got me into the whole mud flood theory. So let's kind of start a little bit with, and also if you guys want to be a part of the show here, Discord, great place to do that. Either before or after the show, chat about the program, get a hold of your host here. And if you want to be a part of the show, call into the show. That's a great place to set that up as well. So, as I said, we had to cut the last open lines short. So, tonight we're going to be rolling everything back in. We're going to talk about the chemtrails. We're going to talk about Easter Island, the big mud flood vibes that you get from there. And of course, the big one for tonight will be Antarctica. Why the secrecy? Why the elites all traveling there? Pyramids under the ice, blood falls. We'll talk about Admiral Byrd, the Antarctic Treaty, and much more. So, last couple weeks, we cracked the star forts. We talked about the Flat Earth Dome with Dave Weiss. We talked about some of the lost inhabitants of this land, and particularly Blemmy, Senecephaly. Tonight, we'll add the ice to the layer of this cake of ours. But I want to start off here with the chemtrails. That's kind of where we left off last episode before I got interrupted by my beautiful daughter. And that'll be a great kind of spot to jump right back into. Now, there's two types of streaks you'll see in the sky, folks. There's chemtrails and there's contrails. Contrails leave a streak but dissipate rather instantly. Chemtrails leave that same streak, but it lingers, and you'll start seeing it spread out into a large hazy mist. Let me see here. I'm going to pull up a time lapse video, just about a minute, of somebody's video of the day sky showing all these chemtrails and contrails, and you'll see the difference between the two. You'll see ones that dissipate rather quickly, and then you'll see ones that, again, linger and spread out into a nice hazy mist. And while I pull this video up and wait for it to load for you guys, drop in your questions from the chat now. I'm seeing a lot of the regulars already here. How's it going, Michael, Lisa, Sarah? Thank you guys all for tuning in late. I do appreciate having you guys along for the ride. Okay, just sorry. Ever since my internet got maintenance on Friday, where we had to originally reschedule open lines Friday, my internet has been quite worse. That Spectrum in general is always great terrible internet company that has a monopoly in the area. I know I used to work for them, but it's the best internet in the area, if that's for what it's worth. Okay, folks, so this is just going to be a minute preview of these chemtrails. It's going to be sped up, obviously, but you're going to see the two differences. And then we're going to talk about what they're actually spraying in the sky. Let me get this to full screen for you. And this is anywhere. This is in Reno, Nevada, I believe specifically, but I am getting what I'm paying for, Michael. Yeah, I had an issue with that with the speed for a while, Michael. I was getting half the speed that I was paying for, and they always raise the rates. Do you see how those clouds just linger? Those are not water vapor clouds. And personally, for me, and a lot of other people I've talked to say they always notice it along the path of the sun. You see some of those streaks, how they almost disappear instantly, kind of look like a shooting star, like a comet. Those are contrails. The ones that are lingering here, these are chemtrails. Big, big difference. But I always see them in the pathway, and you see it here in this video of the sun. It's like they block the sun at sunset and sunrise. My theory about that is it's not just about the poisoning they're doing to us, it's about blocking out the sunset and sunrise. Um, Judy, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm glad I am back here too, and I'm glad we got the kids on a nice bedtime tonight. Having little ones are always it's always a gamble at bedtime. Even the 7-year-old still sometimes wants to fight that path. But my hopes is with this late night show to roll it back to a couple hours earlier in the next couple months once she gets on a better sleeping schedule. My hopes. Fingers crossed for that, guys. Hey, thank you very much for that, Don. I appreciate all you guys. You guys are why I do it, why I put all the hours into this show prep, all that stuff. You guys are one of the greatest audience any content creator can ask for, and I really do appreciate that. So, here's a couple chemtrails that I just took over my house just the other day. Like I said, I believe they're blocking out the sun. I've done a lot of videos on second sun sightings, um, and they seem to be most prevalent during sunsets, sunrises. And no coincidence, like I said, that's when you always seem to find these chemtrails in the path of the sunsets, in the path of the sunrises. Like I said, this is becoming mostly, I'd say, almost every day, at least 5 days out of the week. I don't know about you guys. And they always seem to come right before really intense weather. Like when we got that 30-inch snowstorm, boom, we had tons of these in the sky all over. This was, just the other day. This was a radar look of these clouds, and you can see them. It was really just terrible over the Midwest. Somebody here posted this on X. You can see it's from March 20th, and all of these streaks, those are those chemtrails that show up. Those are not contrails like we seen in that little short video. The contrails dissipate instantly. It amazes me how oblivious people are to this. When you post any of this type of stuff on social media, you have a massive amount of people rushing to the comments to defend the narrative. Oh, those are contrails. Oh, those are contrails. They ignore everyone else in the comments. 95% of the comments, you'll see everyone saying, yeah, lived 50 years, 6 years, never seen the skies like this before. It's ramping up, yada, yada. But that cognitive dissonance, folks, that can be a real banger of a thing, can it? It's what I have with the older crowd, some of my older family members. The two things, they were on board with the mud flood, they were on board with stuff like Tartaria, but you talk to them about the moon landing being fake and them spraying the skies, and you'll see that NPC switch flip, and they just will militantly defend their poisoned skies. And that's exactly what it is. And the evidence of it is quite damning. We've had groundwater and soil tests worldwide. Aluminum levels are off the charts, folks, in areas with heavy spraying. Rainwater samples from non industrial zones show 100 times normal aluminum levels. Patents exist for these chemtrail sprays. US Patent 5003186, filed in 1991. Stratospheric weighs back seeding for reduction of global warming. Spray aluminum oxide into the sky to reflect sunlight. And Bill Gates came up with this type of theory as well, folks, basically blocking out the sun with these chemtrails. So they try and gaslight us saying, oh, there's no such thing as chemtrails. Oh, it's just, they'll admit to cloud seeding. They'll admit to weather manipulation, though they called that a conspiracy 10 years ago as well as cloud seeding. But now they can't even hide that. And if you see some of these recent floods, like the recent flood, I believe it was last spring in Texas, just completely wiped out a camp, just came overnight. There was literal government contracts for people to cloud seed that area. So what is in these sprays? Well, if you guys know ball, if you guys know the ball game, they're all about that ball worship, aren't they? Primarily in this spray is barium and aluminum. And it just so happens that those periodic element signs spell BAAL. And if you know ball, you know they're all about worshiping it. That is no coincidence, folks. That is no coincidence. And again, just look at that checkerboard pattern. It is purposeful, it is worldwide, and it is poisoning us. So, the main purposes, one of them I mentioned here, blocking out the sun, that can be due to manipulate the weather outright or hide certain or certain celestial events. Another thing I'm not sure quite related, but have you guys seen the increase in supposed meteor sightings worldwide in the last week or so, even? Several here in the States, couple in Texas, Ohio. Uh, I can't remember, quite a few other places. Hey, Scott, how's it going tonight, sir? Thank you so much for tuning in live. I don't know if you guys have seen that meteor story. I'm following it closely. Maybe we'll do a episode here about it in the next couple weeks or coming up because that story's fascinating. We've talked a little bit about those sky orbs, right? And I feel it kind of connects into those orbs a little bit. But I believe the purpose. There's another picture I took personally of these streaks. It's one of the only times my kids will accidentally hear me slip up and cuss is when I see something this bad in the sky and I'm driving. I'll say, "Mother effer." Anyways, they do it for a couple reasons, folks. It's weather modification, droughts, floods on demand, flooding out all these cities, flooding out all these areas, causing droughts, causing templates to build these 15-minute cities. Just like Maui, just like LA, they burn down the land, they get it rezoned, they kick out the inhabitants of the area affected, and boom, 15-minute cities. California Bay Area 2 nights ago for those meteors. Yes, yes, I just seen a video of that one actually, right before I went on, live here. Those meteors are fascinating, folks. Keep your eyes out for those. I'll talk more about them in coming episodes when I kind of dig more into them. They say the stars will fall from the skies in the end days and Revelations, and I believe Book of Enoch as well. The fallen angels falling from the sky. We could be coming up on another reset, folks. If you followed my timelines that I presented before, I believe these smaller reset scales kind of happen every few hundred years. And like I said, I believe the last one, the mud flood, was around 1700s, early 1800s. So, with that math, with that kind of timeline, it seems like we might be due for another one soon. A lot of people want to always say the sky's falling every day, right? I try not to be that type of content creator. Um, I've always stuck with the biblical verse. Nobody will know the date, the exact date of the end times. Um, so I try not to speculate too much like on that because you never really know, folks. And I don't want to try and have anyone live in fear in this channel. That's not the purpose of this program. That's not the purpose of my content. My content's about awareness, not fear. But a lot of signs are adding up in the sky. A lot of these wars going on in the Middle East, stuff like that. It just all kind of seems to oddly line up, does it not? So we got weather modification, population control. Aluminum is linked to Alzheimer's, respiratory issues, poison the air, poison the people, folks. And then again, the blocking of the sun, solar geoengineering to fight climate change. But who gave them permission to have this unilateral authority over our skies? That's the issue. And if it is to fight climate change, which man-made climate change I think is personally BS, why not be upright why not be upfront about it, right? Why not tell us? Why not have an open debate and open forum about this? This new administration in the US was supposed to come in and ban these sprayings of our skies. You'll have people like Kennedy openly admitting that they're spraying our skies and he's going to stop it. But I haven't seen any difference from the last Trump administration to the Biden administration to the Trump administration again. It's been the same thing for the last 10 plus years. Really's ramped up since 2020 COVID times. They know about it. They want to gaslight us about it and tell us that we're just being kooky conspiracy theorists. But again, the evidence speaks for itself. And it's not just the evidence that speaks for itself, folks. There's whistleblowers. There's former Air Force and airline pilots that have come forward. Planes with extra tanks, no passenger windows, spray nozzles on wings. Flight tracking shows as well. If you have flight radar apps like Flight Aware, I believe is the one that I use a lot. You can see a lot of these planes in the skies do not actually show up on civilian flight maps. Flight Radar 24 is one I use. That's not an endorsement. That's just the program I use. But yeah, you'll see a lot of the ones, in particular the ones that spray these streaks in the sky that don't show up on these flight radar apps. They should. Military planes do, unless they're planes that are running without transponders on, which I believe a lot of them are. Hey, Kristen, no problem that you're late. Just glad that you're here to catch it. Michael, you said the bill HR 7452 titled the Air Quality Act was introduced February 9th by U.S. Representative Greg Stubbe. Does anyone know if that actually went through or not? They banned it just in Florida, though. Yeah, so why can't it be nationwide? Why is it a conspiracy theory still in 49 other states, but Florida is actually banning it? I heard Tennessee banned it as well. I don't know if anyone from Tennessee or Florida can confirm that or not, but are you guys still seeing streaks in your sky down there? I know we have a couple listeners from Florida. I don't know about Tennessee. But let me talk about a couple of these whistleblowers here, folks, because these are very credited individuals that risk, their futures, their retirements to step forward and to blow the whistle on this, and they're widely ignored. Kristen Megan is a former U.S. Air Force bioenvironmental engineer. Stated, I started noticing these chemicals that were being shipped in on pallets, aluminum, barium, strontium, and they weren't going to maintenance shops like you'd expect for aircraft. They were going to the flight line, to the flight crew. I asked, what are these for? And they said, don't ask. Later, I found out they were being loaded onto the planes for dispersal. Another couple ones here. Edward Snowden leaked via anonymous sources in 2013. Widely circulated but unverified primary sources that chemtrails are indeed real. They're part of a geoengineering program to control the climate and population. The government has been doing it for decades. It's not a conspiracy, it's classified. That was a alleged Snowden link in 2013. AC Griffin, or I'm sorry, AC Griffith, a now deceased whistleblower, seems to be a case with a lot of these whistleblowers on any field in the government. They meet an untimely end, but they were a whistleblower on Project Cloverfield. And in a 2008 interview, they said Project Cloverfield, or sorry, Cloverleaf is the code name. It's a joint military civilian operation. They're spraying aluminum oxide and barium and other particulates from commercial airlines modified with spray nozzles. The goal is weather modification and population control. I've seen the documents. I saw the Emergency Act is active until 2027. What's the Emergency Act, Kristen? Is that like to hear some more on that? Another whistleblower here, just real quick, folks. Rosalind Peterson, former USDA agricultural official, testified in the UN in 2007. I used to work for the USDA. I watched the jets spray these trails. They linger, spread, turn into cloud cover. I tested the soil. Aluminum levels skyrocket after heavy spraying. This is not contrails. This is deliberate atmospheric spraying. This was a testimony in 2007 to the UN. So they've been doing this for a long, long time, folks, for decades. It's just, I don't know if it's ramped up in the last few years or have we just all started opening our eyes to it. Either way, there's tons of whistleblowers for decades that have came forward on that. That's just a few of those. Last one that I had pulled for you is Dr. Nick Bigich. I'll have these quotes on my Telegram here after the show for you guys so you can read them in their entirety and get the sources for them. Chemtrails are part of a larger program, HARP, Geoengineering Weather Weapons. They're spraying conductive metals to make the atmosphere more responsive to electromagnetic manipulation. It's about controlling the weather and the population. So, HARP is a weather control program um, stationed off in Alaska that supposedly got shut down, but highly doubt that. We'll talk more about HARP and how it's using basically, like I said, geo electromagnetic manipulation, much like the old world would use the ether for the good of humanity. And that's the difference between this new world that we're living in today, and the old world, the world that was reset and buried from us. Uh, the old world was all about uplifting and inspiring the population, benefiting everyone. Today, it's all about profit, it's all about control and manipulation. It's all about how much they can milk from us, our labors, our money, our time, our efforts, because the more broke we are, the more tired and worn out we are, that much easier to control, that much easier to get sick, that much easier to get chemically reliant on the petroleum-based pharmaceuticals, and that's what it's all about, folks. Kristen, you said in regards to that emergency act till 2027, it's federally funded and says it trumps all states trying to ban. We look up again and okay. Okay, so the states that have tried to ban this are being federally shut down because of the emergency act that is active until 2027. Not surprised by that at all. It's definitely a federal program. It's a I mean, it's not just a American program. Obviously, it's worldwide. Talk to people in England, Scotland, Amsterdam, Russia, all over. They're doing this. It's definitely a dark program. Definitely one of those black budget, off the books programs, right? And that's why all these politicians that do run on stopping it, they always get met with a wall because federal law always trumps state law, even with the dark government. And I mean, or these shadow groups. If you see perfectly symmetrical patterns like marshmallows or waves in the sky, that is HARP. Yeah, Scott. And you can see that with a lot of these clouds nowadays. Much like the sun back in my day, beautiful yellow ball in the sky. Nothing like this bright white fake LED like sun that we see now. The clouds back then, they were big, white, fluffy clouds. And you never seen these fake little they look like patterns, they look like symmetric patterns, you're exactly right, Scott. Not just with the chemtrail lines, but just look at some of these cloud patterns, folks, they're absolutely off, and I think about not just, like, the clouds we've seen, but think about thunderstorms. I was noticing this with my wife the other day. Thunderstorms do not sound the same either. Um, Used to be, you as a kid, you'd hear the boom, or you'd see the flash, I mean, the streak of lightning in the sky, and then you would count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, then you'd hear the boom. Be a nice predominant boom, nice and loud and done. Now you hear this, like, bubbling, rumbling, almost like popping bubble wrap in the sky through thunderstorms. It's really hard to explain, but thunderstorms, let me know if I'm crazy in the chat, folks, but thunderstorms do not sound the same. It's completely fake weather. Everything about it. Everything about it. And I think the seasons are off with all of this stuff too. Yeah, the lightning has definitely changed. You don't see the lightning in the streaks, or in the skies like you do, like those nice, beautiful bolts. I used to love on road trips. I drive a lot on the highways and stuff. When you'd see the thunders storms on the road trips, you'd see those nice, beautiful bolts of lightning streaking through the sky. You don't. You just see flashes and like rumblings and rumblings and rumblings. That's all you see. That's all you hear. 1 second equals 1 mile for that. Yeah, exactly. And that was pretty reliable. You would never hear this new thunder like you do now. You would see the lightning and then you'd count 1 second, 2 second, and for every second it was a mile. Absolutely right, Scott. But yeah, it's really kind of hard to explain, and you can't even really capture it on video. Lisa, you've noticed that too. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people it kind of takes when I'm with them and I'm like, "Do you guys notice how weird this thunder sounds?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, now that you mention it." But most of the masses, folks, are so just blinded to everything going on around them. That's why they think these skies are completely normal. That's why they think all this weather is completely normal. Just the other day, in fact, March 17th, the Daily Mail releases a article, CIA accused of poisoning the sky with toxins as files expose secret weather control agenda. The media is dropping it right in our faces, but even then, a majority of the masses will still just balk and say these are contrails. I posted this on my socials and I would still get people defending the narrative. I mean, it really kind of plays into the whole NPC narrative, dead internet theory narrative when like I just can't believe that these people are actual conscious human beings that are defending this poisoning in our skies. It's maddening. It's almost more maddening than looking out at the skies with all the streaks in it, is the amount of people that will just blindly defend it, despite all the whistleblowers, despite all these articles that they're sprinkling in. Exactly right, Scott. Truth in plain sight. See, they'll tell you these things. They'll drop these in obscure articles like go on the Daily Mail US X page and you'll find this, but you'll find this thousands of stories down by now. And nobody just really talks about it because they just, keep posting other distractions like the Iranian war and this and that. Things to keep you glued to the TV for that constant doom and gloom feed. It's a constant war for our dopamine, is really what it is, folks. So, a couple more things here just to show you on the chemtrails. We'll move on to the next topic. I mean, it's just a few examples. Look at all those grid patterns. Those aren't just crossing planes in the sky. The other thing, I posted this on my social as well, I want to talk about is the bugs, the lack of bugs. I believe a lot of it's probably caused from the overspraying of pesticides in the sky or in the crops and stuff as well. But I believe the spraying of our skies is also affecting our local biomes. I remember for 20 years, going to Iowa from Rockford, Illinois, and that was, quite a country trip, quite a country highway trip. And I would, take it on the motorcycle a lot of times. And you would just get pelted with bugs in the 90s. Your whole windshield would be covered in bugs. Even up here in Wisconsin, last decade ago, when I would go up to the UP, every few months or so, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, for all you non Midwesterners, uh, I would go up to the UP and just there would be so many bugs on my windshield. Uh, I would have to, I'm only about hour and a half from the UP. I would have to pull into the gas station and scrub the bugs off before I would even turn around and go home. But now I go all the way there and back and be lucky to see a few bugs at most on my windshield. Bees are also being affected. Yeah, Kristen, local beekeepers have been affected here. She says, yeah, bees all over. You don't see bees anymore. You don't see butterflies anymore. I remember when I was a little kid, you could go into fields and just see endless butterflies, endless bees, endless bumblebees. Very little bumblebees you see anymore. And not even that, fireflies. Who remembers as a kid catching fireflies in the summer? They were all over the place. We would have little firefly baskets, we would catch them with little nets, and they would light up in our little firefly house. And now, like, it's so disappointing as a dad, like, I would love to have my kids firefly hunt, firefly catching, and you see maybe 2 or 3 fireflies kind of just very, like, lazily lingering around in the air, nothing like you would see by the dozens, by the hundreds when I was a kid. No fireflies, no butterflies, no bees. They blame the lack of bugs on windshields. You'll get the mainstream defenders saying, "Oh, it's because of the aerodynamics of the cars." I've had the same motorcycle helmets for over 20 years, folks. The aerodynamics of my motorcycle helmet did not change. The lack of bugs did. It's from the spraying of all the pesticides in Iowa, especially Iowa, like, has one of the highest cancer rates in America right now because of all of the pesticides that they spray on the crops. So, yeah, all that pesticides spraying is definitely a big part of the lack of bugs that we're seeing on our vehicles. Absolutely. but it's not the whole picture. The whole picture is what they're doing into the skies. The bugs are just the after effect of that, the I can call it a side effect or a result of it, but that's going to be us soon, folks. That is going to be us soon. America is one of the highest rates of chronic illness in the world. We also consume the most pharmaceuticals in the world as well. Yeah, Lisa, my kids put fireflies in the jars in the 90s, good old days. Yeah, the good old days indeed. Fireflies and even birds. This whole system is messed up. Like, there's the lack of birds you hear in the morning time, in the daytime in general. And you used to hear birds starting to chirp at 5 AM. Now they start chirping at like 2 AM and 3 AM. It's like everything is off in this world. And it has been for quite a while. Nobody can quite pinpoint exactly when. A lot of people say it's during the lockdowns 2020 when everything flipped. I think it goes further back than that, but it has definitely ramped up in recent years. That's for sure. And it's not gonna be in a good end result. Yeah, wicked, our food sucks as well. I've said this a couple times, the 95% of what's on even more so than that, 95% of what's in your grocery store shelves, folks, were not on the shelves 100 years ago. Coincidentally enough, the increase of gut cancer, stomach cancer, colon cancer, uh, has shot up 95% in the last 100 years. So there's no coincidence there. And it's all because of these preservatives, these additives, these artificial flavors, these artificial dyes that they've put in our food. They're literally chemically castrating us, they're chemically poisoning us. I don't mean to sound like Alex Jones saying, they're putting, making the frogs gay, but I mean, they're literally doing that. It's not a conspiracy. There's tons of documents about it. Most people are just too blind in their own hubris to look it up. I mean, all of these brands, yeah, there's shrinkflation going on now. They're cutting corners, trying to cheapen their brands. With that, they're putting in all these seed oils that, again, Robert Kennedy was supposed to get rid of when he got into office, but he has yet to do any of that. Lots of talk from all these politicians, no matter what side of the aisle it is. I'm not political at all in this channel, but you see a lot of these politicians promising the sun, but they never deliver. They'll soft disclose the problems, but that's about it. You said because our food, air, everything is poison and microplastics, not to mention cell towers and effects on our body. Oh, yes, the cell towers, the 5G towers, all of it. It's a frequency war, it's a chemical war against us. We are just the useless eaters to them, folks. And part of this whole culling, this reset period, I think, is to lower the population numbers as much as possible beforehand, and then let the reset do the rest. And then by then, the elites pick the select few to stash away in these underground cities, these underground bunkers to write out these resets. And the select few, unfortunately, are not you and me, folks. They're the ones that don't question the narrative. But that's okay. I don't want to sell my soul to get a spot on their ship. I'd rather ride it out with you guys. Kristen, you said, seriously try the activated charcoal, folks. Small communities have got to come together, local gardens, but they are poisoning us at every turn. Fluoride out of our water going on for 2 years. Yes. Yeah, they're supposed to remove fluoride from the water too with this administration. Silence on that. Fluoride, a certain like milligram of fluoride, for every like gram or so of fluoride, it will lower your IQ a point. And imagine how much that affects the whole entire population now, folks. They are literally dumbing us down by just adding fluoride to our drinking water. And even if you don't drink the tap water, it's still in everything. You cook with it, you bathe with it. You're just bathing in water that is literally filled with chemicals. I had a picture 8 a.m. in the morning, showed it to a friend of mine as we looked at the sky. He looked at me and told me I was lying. Yeah. I don't know if I missed the other part of that when I popped that on there, but yeah, absolutely. Um, Not just drinking water, every restaurant's drinking water. Oh, yeah. I mean, and they run these filters through it, but the old world, they knew all about water filtration better than us. They would use copper and zinc to filter their waters, and that filters it and keeps it cleaner and more free of any disease than anything we do now. But they can't sell you expensive Brita water filters if you use copper to filter your water. Trust me, folks, buy copper pans, buy copper cups, buy copper utensils. It's one way you can filter some of this stuff out of your water, and it's been used since the ancient times. 6G, baby, keep your cell phone next to your pillow when you sleep, Scott. Yeah, yeah, and I mean, that's what they want us to do. They want us on those phones, stuck glued to those screens, so we are distracted. So one of the last other things I kind of wanted to talk about on our canceled episode was what started. I made a video, a little short video of it and posted it on my socials, but I kind of wanted to highlight it all for you guys. One of the questions I get asked the most is what really opened my eyes to the mud flood? What was the first kind of aha moment for me when it comes to the mud flood? And I always tell them it was the Easter Island heads. So we all know them as Easter Island heads, right? They are pulled picture up for you. This is what you're taught they are in school, anyways. Just these little heads off an island in Chile, Easter Island. These Moai statues. There are 887 statues. Some of them over 30 feet tall, weighing at around 80 tons each, all carved from volcanic stone, transported miles away from quarries to the coastlines of Easter Island. Oops, sorry, this isn't full screen. Sorry, there was an update on Riverside and it's kind of a little funking me out. So this is what we were shown in school that these Easter Island heads were. Even Squidward's house was an Easter Island head. Most people never know that these aren't heads, they're actual full-blown bodies. Because it would shatter the narrative, even if you were told this as a kid in school, it would raise an eyebrow. So they quarried this volcanic stone miles away from the coastlines. And then it wasn't just these Easter Island heads that were already baffling how they got them all the way to the coast, but they were full sized Easter Island bodies with odd carvings on all of them, all buried under meters of mud. That really was kind of a big eye opener for me. I was always kind of interested in unexplained anomalies, out of place artifacts in history. I told you guys I was a mainstream history buff before I woke up, but you know, the unexplained always was curious to me. I was always kind of a conspiracy theorist ever since I was a little kid, and people would tell me about the mud flood, a worldwide event, and I thought that they were silly, some kind of real right field conspiracy type stuff, right? Out of left field type conspiracy stuff. But then somebody turned me on to the Easter Island heads. And ever since then, I've been a full on mud flood believer, as you guys know. Just take a look for yourselves. I mean, this was supposedly done. Just look at the intricate carvings on the backs of these, all done by supposed primitive tribes with hammer and chisel. And they somehow just were able to cradle the, before the wheel, before even the horse cart to go along with those horse and buggies, pulling these 80-ton stones. So, does any of that make sense to you? Officially, the narrative now, when you look at them, even though they're still taught in school as Easter Island heads, they're never taught about all of them buried. And sadly, most of the island caught up in a mysterious fire that burned a lot of these statues up in basically the areas a lot less accessible. I've heard recent years this fire happened. Always those convenient fires, right? That burn away so much evidence. I don't know how it destroyed a lot of these Easter Island bodies, not heads, but apparently, according to the mainstream media, it did just that. Just look how massive these are. Look how many people are here. It's got one, two, three, four, five people deep down. There's just dozens of people standing around it, and they all look like ants next to this statue. The reason why even today in the mainstream they're still referred to as Easter Island heads, all the decorative Easter Island heads, you'll never find full Moe statues like this. You'll just hear about the heads because it shatters the narrative that these were made by primitive tribes quarried from miles away. Exactly, Wicked. Another coincidental fire. Yeah, they don't have great fires anymore, folks, like they used to. They just have coordinated, convenient fires like Notre Dame, stuff like that. Just conveniently, a massive stone church just engulfed in flames. That's how they destroy little bits of the old world still today. The Great Fire excuse doesn't work like it would back then, but they still have those massive, quote unquote, forest fires like Maui and stuff like that, those directed energy weapon events. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to show this segment. I really kind of wanted to get to it, even though it was for my previous episode. This was really what opened my eyes. So if you guys want to know what you can do to, your friends, your family to help kind of wake them up subtly to this mud flat stuff, I always suggest people start with something like the Easter Island heads. It's a big, big eye opener. It really kind of blows up the narrative. It really opened my eyes all those years ago. Goodness, I can't believe how many years it's been at that. All right, folks. So we'll take a quick minute sponsor break here, and then we'll get into our main segment for the night, Antarctica. Talk about some awesome, interesting mysteries behind the ice. Be back in just a minute. Drop your questions in chat as well, and we'll get to those also. A quick shout out to this program sponsor, Riverside. If these live shows sound smooth and clear, that's Riverside making it happen. Killer audio, zero hassle, and it works every time, even on long nights like tonight. I've tried a bunch. This is the one that actually delivers. Want to start your own podcast? You should totally do it. Make your voice heard. Grab my link in the bio or show notes. It's an affiliate link, helps support the show, costs you nothing. Thanks for listening. Now back to the mysteries. All right, all right. We are back here. So, for the main segment tonight, as the title suggests, we'll be talking about Antarctica. That is not meant to be an end all. It's just we talked a little bit about Antarctica when we did the polls, but it's really just kind of to highlight some more odd going ons behind Antarctica. The many pyramids behind Antarctica is one of the beautiful, beautiful parts of it. A lot of independent explorations in the past have revealed many pyramids. The pyramid formation in Ellsworth Mountains. first revealed in a 2016 Google Earth photo, shows a pyramid formation buried in the ice that is aligned exactly like the pyramids in Giza, the pyramids in the Bosnian region, and so many other of these pyramid formations, the ones that align exactly on the Orion's belt. Sorry, I was trying to flip through my picture, see if I could pull that up here. I want to show you the Google Earth view from that with the coordinates on it as well. I would pull up Google Earth directly, but with my credit computer, it always kind of crashes the live when I do that. But here are the coordinates for these pyramids. Once it loads up, that is, of course. And you can look at them up yourself. They are exactly 13 kilometers by 13 kilometers long as well. Another interesting, like the sides of them. Make sure I got that right. Sorry, folks, it's being a little slow on my end. 2 kilometers long, 2 kilometers long, 2 kilometers wide, perfectly squared at the base of these pyramids. Come on, pull up. Really love my slow computer sometimes, folks. I'm working on getting a new ones. I had a couple great donations from you guys. I have a kind of pool saved up for that, collecting interest in the bank. Hopefully, very soon I'll be able to get an upgraded computer with our taxes coming back too, maybe. Oh, come on, computer. Don't do this to me now. You're being so good. Okay, there we go. This is the pyramid complex that I wanted to show you guys. These are the coordinates if you'd like to take a screen grab of those and look at them a little closer in Google Earth. I highly recommend it. Another fascination about Antarctica that I wanted to point out to you guys that I didn't get to last time were the blood waterfalls. The red waterfalls found only in Antarctica are several waterfalls that bleed red. The official narrative behind them is a rare algae found only in that region, mixed with iron, causes this dyed effect, this red waterfall effect. Again, found only in the subglacial regions of Antarctica. I have showed you several mud fossil titans as well. Back to the coordinates, Michael. Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'll put this picture on some of my socials as well, so you guys can copy the picture right from there, like from my Telegram, stuff like that. But if I try pulling up Google Earth, it kind of crashes my computer. So yeah, get out and push. Yeah, that's kind of what I have to do sometimes with my old computer, folks. But I try and make do with what I got. Hopefully, everybody's got a chance to copy this, screen copy these coordinates. Take a look at them yourselves. I'll post them on my social. These blood red waterfalls, though, folks, found only in Antarctica. And look at this. I believe it's the iron oxide, the iron minerals found in the blood of these titans. Another coordinates I have, I think this is one of the titans you can find in Antarctica, somewhat near one of the blood waterfall sources, actually. I have the coordinates for this. I don't know if I have a picture of it with the coordinates in my stack of stuff here, but I will post that on my socials as well. It looks like a very giant alien face, does it not? And this is still visible from Google Earth to this day. We'll shoot you the coordinates on this because it's kind of a creepy one. It's huge too. It's like from the bottom of the chin to the top of the face. It's about 2 miles long. So that tells you just how big this giant Titan's face is. Another thing I kind of wanted to talk to you about, the ties into the Antarctic Treaty. So we have the longest standing treaty ever in the history of the world, despite all these nations that have fought wars against each other, that have broken so many other treaties. The Antarctic Treaty is the longest unbroken treaty in the history of the world, basically. And the long and the short of it is you can only travel to Antarctica with permission from your home government. You independent exploration or research to Antarctica past the 60th parallel is banned without, again, express permission from your home government. With that, they say, well, you can take a trip to Antarctica. Yes, you can take a trip to Antarctica. However, what you'll see with some of these screen grabs that I've done trying to research the trips to Antarctica, you get to see very limited amounts of Antarctica. It's basically like you go to less than 1% of it, the peninsula of Antarctica, and those tours will run you about $10,000 each. There are certain flyovers done by, like, I think Qatar Air or something that offers some flying trips over Antarctica, but no trips, no tours, no nothing that you can take will allow you to go completely across the Antarctic continent from one end to the other. And none of them will allow any independent exploration. You will be in a travel group that is monitored and restricted the whole entire time. So these Antarctic trips, let's see if I can slide through a couple of them here. Oh, sorry, they're out of order. So one of these flights here. So while over the Antarctic Treaty Area, you will fly approximately 4 hours over the Antarctic continent. And it's really just over the coastlines of Antarctica, the ice wall area. You won't go very much further past that in this plane trip. In planning our route, considerable time is taken to select the most spectacular area of Antarctica within aircraft range. The selected area will be chosen from 19 different flight plans, taking into account maximum viewing, yada yada, best possibility for viewing should weather conditions be adverse. And what to expect here. Uh, so the flights will provide a full day of Antarctic experience. Our flight from Australia ranged between 9,500 to 10,000 kilometers round trip, approximately 12 and a half hours, depending on your departure city. And some of these flight paths you'll see here will just be really, oh, do I have them in this folder? Hang on just a second, folks. Okay. They're in another folder, sorry. And that's where it started to freeze. One second here. Let me try and get to the next folder so I can show you some of these trips. Computer's being really difficult. I don't know if it's the internet. It's probably the internet. Freaking Spectrum internet. I swear to God, goodness. Swear to goodness, folks. Yeah, my whole photos are kind of frozen up now on that. Frozen like the continent of Antarctica. Love it. Okay. Well, while I wait for these to load, and I appreciate all of your guys' patience with that, let me just kind of explain some of these tours. So, all of these flights will cost you several $1,000s, and you'll see the coastlines of Antarctica, nothing more. You'll be around the Australian area, and it'll give you about 12, like I said, 12 and a half hours of flight, but all you're seeing is coastlines. You'll see no flights that go completely through circumnavigating through the continent of Antarctica. No trips or anything like that. Treaties with all countries, no exploration there. Yep, pretty much no independent exploration. unless you're on a guided tour. The only way you're getting any type of independent research or exploration is you need a signed permission slip basically from your country of origin. Oh, these pictures. We might be sans visual for the rest of the show tonight, guys. That's okay. I can talk without pictures. I'm a big boy here. Okay. So another thing with Antarctica, the boat tours will take you to the peninsula, which is, if I had a visual of the map, it's the outstretched land of Antarctica, the little like island, the little small strip of land protruding outwards from the main continent. You can have several boat tours that'll take you there, and those all range about $10,000 at the cheapest. And you'll get a trip to the peninsula, you'll get a trip to one of the stations in Antarctica, and that is about it from there. Those are the only types of guided tours you can get. None of them show you the entirety of the whole South Pole. I believe there's so much hidden in Antarctica. Several elites, I say elites, really, I mean, parasitic elites, the ones that run this show, all took in the mid 2000s, 2010s, shortly before the pandemic, really. We're talking about celebrities like Buzz Aldrin, John Kerry, several prominent political figures all going to Antarctica on these mysterious trips and all tweeting cryptid responses from there. Buzz Aldrin had to be medically evacuated or medically rescued from Antarctica during his trip, suffered a heart condition, but his tweet was, I believe, I can't pull up the photo for it, but paraphrasing it, he says basically what is going on in Antarctica will change the world. Goodness, I'm very sorry, folks. My computer, I hate to use the computer excuse, but yeah, it's being really difficult today. That's okay. Like I said, I don't need visuals. I thought I wrote down the quote, but I didn't. I have a nice, cool visual picture of the tweet, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. If anyone in chat can drop that in, that'd be awesome. I'm here now. You can start. Awesome. Right on time, Chandra. Thanks for coming in. Um, so the Drake Passage. Hang on, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to fiddle around with these pictures on the back end, trying to make them pull up. All 33rd degree Freemasons and complete phonies, as well as likely fallen angels. Yes. Yeah, 30. Yeah, there's some interesting things about those 33rd degree Freemasons, folks. I'm having an episode kind of in the works about those as well. We've had a couple Masons. We had an episode with a former 32nd degree Freemason talking about some of their interesting theories about that. I've been working on kind of a whole episode based on the Masons as well. Oh, my whole computer is just frozen up now, guys. You don't know how frustrating this is. I'm going to try to kind of restart something real quick if it kicks me out of this live. Hang on. Nope, it's not even going to let me do that. I'm just not going to mess with it. I don't want to interrupt this live anymore. So I apologize. Rest of the night, we might probably won't have any visuals to go with what I'm talking about. But the edited version of the show, after show, the one that goes up on Spotify and stuff like that, I'll put in the visuals that I'm talking about here, so it'll help explain what I'm getting at here. So why are all of these elites taking trips and talking about these mysterious things going on in Antarctica? Why are we not allowed these same trips that the elites are? Why are there all these pyramids in Antarctica, a frozen wasteland with several hundred feet of snow? It's because Antarctica used to be a tropical region. There were palm trees, petrified palm trees, fossilized trees, showing that Antarctica was a tropical climate at one time. As I mentioned in previous episodes discussing these resets, some of these reset events are caused by these pole shifts, these sudden and dramatic shifts from magnetic north to magnetic south that causes a sudden change in the climates. You would have woolly mammoths still chewing their meals that were flash frozen in place still, with their food still in their mouth. It suggests a rapid and sudden climate change event, not man made climate change like they want to try and push on us. And I believe maybe a lot of their efforts is to kind of try and not just poison us with like these chemtrails and these springs, but to almost delay the outcome of it or make it more into their favor, if that makes sense. Poisoning the population in the process, delaying the inevitable, and waiting for that moment that they are the only ones that are entitled to know about. That's why you have all these elites the world over building these underground bunkers, because I believe the rapid cataclysmic event, the rapid climate changing event is soon to happen, and they know it. They absolutely don't want you and I to know it. It would cause such a panic for one in the average masses. Look what happened when COVID first spiked up. Everybody rushed out to buy toilet paper for no reason whatsoever, just because they were panic buying. If everybody knew an impending reset were to happen, the world as we know it would end overnight. The smart ones, like you and I here listening to this program, would know not to panic, but to prepare your families in the eventuality of such events. That's my message. Just be ready, know the signs, know what's going on around you, folks. Chandra plasma events. I don't know if that you think that's the next one that's going to happen, or you think all of these resets. I believe plasma events do occur. That's those melted buildings, but I do think they're separate from some of these resets. I believe each of these resets kind of have their own course. Some of them might be absolutely designed by these parasites and, kind of a manufactured reset, little mini resets. But like the mud flood, I don't believe that was a fire and brimstone type of an event. I believe that was a sudden cataclysmic rise of water. Could be from a massive worldwide earthquake, could be from a massive flood, like a mini great flood. But the water levels rose, and then when they receded, if you guys ever lived on the, like, banks of the Mississippi with some of those great Mississippi floods, once the waters recede, all of that mud, all of that soot covers up the buildings, and they just dug out the best they could from those floods, those that rode it out, those that survived, and they just dug it out. That's the last reset. That's different from those plasma events, but those do occur. There's many different cycles of this realm. That's what I've showed you guys before in previous episodes and videos. Yeah. If you look up, so the magnetic north naturally moves a few degrees every year. What has been happening in an alarming rate since the, I believe, early 2000s is that magnetic north, that's the true North Pole has been moving rapidly every year. What started out as several meters has now went to several miles a year, and it's only going at an increased rate. Most people don't know about that, but they're theorizing that the new South Pole will be somewhere in South America, and the new North Pole will be somewhere in Siberia. And whether you believe that the Earth is round or flat, it's an electromagnetic realm. There's a toroidal field around it, folks. There is a positive and negative charge, a positive and negative pole on this realm. And if that inverts, it will cause mass devastation. It'll cause basically changes in the water levels, rapid sea level rises, and then eventually it'll settle throughout the lands. But it's why there's, signs of ancient humanity miles under the ocean. It's because, the water sat differently, if that makes sense. It sat differently, different parts of the earth shifted the land masses. That's why there's lost continents like Mu, lost continents like Atlantis. They just sank underneath the ocean. The water level, we are just ants in this world, folks. Just small and unable to kind of comprehend just how big this world is and just how much like we can just the whole world, the whole climate can change in a snap with and we would never see it coming. Okay, Scott said, who's telling us this magnetic north is moving? A south pole can't even exist if we use compasses to tell the direction. Well, that's a great point, Scott. I've told you guys this before. The compasses always point north, right? No matter what, even if you're in Antarctica, even if you're close to where they tell you the South Pole is, that compass will not just start poling south, it will always point north. That is the strongest part of this electric magnetic realm we are in, is the north. The it could be a magnetic mountain, whatever it is, it's the strongest pulling on that. So I mean, who's telling me? I wish I could pull up this article here, but my computer being what it's doing right now, it's being very frustrating here, folks. It's kind of crashing in slow real time. So if I cut off for whatever reason, I apologize. I'll try and pop back on, but hopefully it lasts for the next 15 minutes so I can get through this whole episode without interruption like the last two unfortunately had. Let's take a few more of your questions here while I try and see if I can fix my computer. Mm. Oh, goodness. I hope you guys can still hear me. My screen's kind of black right now. Oh, there it goes. Totally believe, Kristen says, totally believe some remote viewers and out of body experiences, whole cities, underground, sun and all. Yeah, those remote viewers and out of body experiences, very interesting stuff what they report back to. Apparently, they cannot remote view military bases. A lot of remote viewers that I've talked to and stuff, they say like when they go to Antarctica, when they go to places like the military base, says uh, they're kind of hit a wall like a barrier. I don't know if anybody else that knows. I don't know too much about remote viewing. That's just one of the first things that popped into my head. All these off limits areas are also kind of barriered to those remote viewers, to those out of body experiences, which are kind of one and the same, really. You guys can still hear me. Okay, great. Scott says, so Bible or not, or whatever the point is, our realm is not a spirit. Believe what you want, but physics is physics. I definitely don't believe it's a spirit, at least not in the math that they're giving us, Scott. Because yeah, it doesn't make any sense. When we were talking with Dave, the curvature math doesn't make sense that they give us. The horizon doesn't make sense. The fact we can't see any curve, no matter how high up we have gone, we can't see it. They try and artificially put in the curve with like the fisheye lenses and stuff, but no, it's not a spinning ball like they tell us. It might be much, much bigger than they tell us, and we're in just a little tiny crater of it, and it, could be round after that, I don't know, but I don't think anyone knows the true shape and nature of the Earth except for these parasites. We can do is just theorize to the best of our abilities with the limited information that we can gather together. But we're growing a bigger and bigger picture with that. Like I've told you guys before, community is a big, big part of this. Coming together as a community, brainstorming these facts out, discussing what we think our opinions are for, the shape and nature of the earth, the true history of the earth. That's how we actually make some progress in this, folks. We might not have all the answers. We might not complete the full picture, the full puzzle in our lifetime. But for our kids and our grandkids, that's where it should really matter. Maybe we can't stop this next one, but we can brace for what's coming. We can be aware of what's coming. Awareness is the best thing we can do right now with what we're given. So I try not to be doom and gloom, but I always think it's better to go into a storm knowing that it's coming, being able to brace for that storm than to just getting blindsided from it, right? That's why I don't tell you when the next dates of the reset is because nobody knows. Nobody knows when the next reset is. Nobody knows when the last reset was. We have some great theories on that. And I, believe very strongly in them. But if we're looking for exact dates, I don't think we'll ever be able to get near an exact date with this stuff. And when it comes, it will still surprise the hell out of even the most prepared one of us. But the more knowledge, the more awareness we have, the more community that we gather together, the more resources that we slowly squirrel away, the better prepared we'll be for these events, for the eventuality of these events. Because I am pretty sure, I am pretty certain it will be in our lifetime. I can't say, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I can't say that for certain. I'm not a betting man, but just as I always say, guys, question everything, but be prepared. Have your eyes open, head on a swivel, all of that good stuff. That's the best thing we can do to prepare for the next reset. Have a bug out plan. Just like any other natural disaster, have a kit. I have a little emergency kit. I have one in my home. I have one in my car. Emergency rations, emergency like field stuff, like camping, survival stuff, just in case not even, a reset, but, natural disaster event type of thing occurs. You and your family are prepared and ready. Have a month of non perishable food ready. Some of the best stuff you can do, some of the cheapest stuff you can buy is ramen. That stuff holds forever on the shelf, those big packs of instant ramen, right? Get a couple cases of those, some canned goods. Make sure you have a can opener as well. You don't want to be in the middle of an apocalypse or in a power outage situation without a can opener. It's one of the important things people overlook. Don't stack your whole basement up with survival food. I'm not saying that, but have a couple weeks, a month extra of food ready to go and stuff that you can easily prepare without cooking. That's the best thing you guys can do. And other than that, just live your life. Life is precious. We're never guaranteed tomorrow. We're never guaranteed the next minute. So just enjoy it. Don't always worry about when it's going to come, if it ever comes. Just live life to the fullest, folks, but always just be prepared. My family, we have a plan in place. If something happens, natural disaster event, we know where to meet, know where to get a hold of each other with the phone networks go down, stuff like that. Don't if you live in a state of constant panic, you're never going to enjoy the beauties that life has to offer. And it's so much beautiful stuff out here in this world. I know we always talk a lot about the doom and gloom stuff and stuff they hide from us, but it's really meant to show you guys just how much more beautiful stuff is out there. Whether it's, history to be discovered, giant ancient past, mysteries in Antarctica. I try not to convey them as dread that they're all being kept from us. I'm try and portray them as a sense of, we are explorers. Human nature is to explore, always to see what's past the horizon, what's over the next mountain, over the next hill. And they told us growing up that pretty much that was already done. There's nothing left to explore. All the mysteries and all the sciences were already settled. But that's absolutely not the truth, is it? There's so much left to explore. There's so much science of our world that we can't explain, that, we truly can independently discover ourselves. Kristen, if the electric grid goes down ever, yeah, if we can lock in stuff like this ether tech, we won't even need to ever worry about an electrical grid, will we? Solar panels and stuff like that hold nothing to the ether energy. You heard the experiment that Dave tried that I told him with the copper wire attached to a drone, and he mistakenly grabbed the wire when he had his drone 1,000 feet up in the air, and he got a shock so badly it almost dislocated his shoulder, he said, right? Now imagine if we can harness that. I believe, and there I showed you some of those patents that they had all the way back in the early 1900s, where they already had patents on the board for it, where they attached copper wires to high altitude weather balloons, and they would harness the energy that they would get from the ether right from there. They would just have a line attached to those weather balloons. They would go up there about 1,000 feet or so, right? And then they would have ways to harness it down on the ground below. Those would work better than any solar panels. If they bomb out the skies, make the skies blackened, solar panels will not work either. Okay, let's take a couple more of your guys' questions. We'll talk more about Antarctica in the next video. Hey, Plastic, well, you missed lots of good stuff, but good thing is, show will be available on Spotify, YouTube, everywhere else after we go live. So no worries, you can rewatch what you missed. Mostly computer problems at the end, though, unfortunately. Maybe there was a reason why they built things in stone, so it would survive the reset. So we would have proof there were intelligent civilizations before us. That is absolutely spot on, Alice. It's one of the old sayings, like, oh, it's not set in stone. We say those things for a while or for a reason because they've survived the test of time. I absolutely believe the ancients tried to communicate the best way they could with carving it in stone. We just lack the ability to translate it properly. And, I'm sure we have the ability to translate a lot of these, these tablets, these hieroglyphics, but the the mainstream, the parasites will absolutely keep that from us. That's okay because we can see with their architecture, the layouts of the architectures, like with those star forts laid out in those perfect sacred geometry, cymatic patterns. We can see that there was purpose for that. There was reasons that our ancestors built like that. It wasn't just a defensive fortification, good fortifications like they told us with those star forts. Everything was built in a harmonic, cymatic pattern for a reason. The ancient old world grid. They took advantage of the architecture. They built with sound and they built with the ether above to power it all. Great point about the carved in stone things, though. I just think we need to learn how to read what they wrote for us. Let's take a couple more of your questions here, and then we'll wrap up tonight's episode. I'm glad my computer's actually cooperating enough to not crash, but hey, Scott, you're a sixth generation farm. That is awesome to hear. Yes, farming is great. I'm somewhat of a green thumb. I'm learning more and more about like growing my own vegetables and stuff. A lot of just doing this content over the year has have drawn me more and more to that. Speaking of farming, something I'll kind of show you guys on the next episode, electroculture. Everybody planting their seeds, planting their gardens this year, try this simple experiment with copper. We talked about copper with copper containers, cups to help filter our waters. Another thing that copper was used in the past for was to help grow their gardens exponentially larger with much better yields than what we are capable of today. And it's simple as making a copper rod in the ground. I haven't gotten too technical with it, but what you can do is just go to your local hardware store, get one of those garden sticks. They're like $1. They're like a couple feet tall. You stick them right into the ground to help, your growing vining plants like tomatoes and stuff kind of cling to it. But what I use them, and you get that copper wire and you just wrap it around those sticks. You make sure that it goes into the ground far enough. And it's basically an antenna, and it will trickle in the natural energies from the earth, from the ether, from the natural electric fields above us. And boy, I tell you, folks, your plants will grow better. They'll grow quicker, healthier. Like I've never gotten so many tomatoes doing this. Uh, and it's so simple. It'll cost you guys about $5 for the copper wire and for the wooden sticks, or you can just grab a stick from your yard. That's what I did for some of my plants. It works for your fruit growing plants. It works for any plants you grow in your garden. Give it a try. You can have just a couple of them, do a little like controlled experiment. Beautiful, easy results, folks. I'll show you some visuals of that on Thursday's episode. So, for the rest of the week here, Thursday will kind of be wrapping up a little bit more on Antarctica, some of the stuff that I wanted to show you visually that I unfortunately couldn't with my computer issues tonight. We'll touch a little bit more on Antarctica. A couple other things that I have in the woodworks. Don't have quite a full episode planned yet, but I do have some great things for Thursday. And of course, Friday will be our Open Lines Friday episode. And how that format works is anything you guys want to talk about, whether it's the stuff we talked about at the beginning of the week or any other episode, it's all on the table and it's whatever you guys want to chat about. We'll be heavy on chat questions throughout the show, good little Q&A, and if anybody wants to call into the show and chat live with me, you can do that as well. That'll be in the Discord for you to do that. I'll drop the link here for you as well. You can also find the link to my Discord and all my other channels in my bio and my link tree. If you want to email me as well, try and get a hold of me, submit any of your own findings, your local mud flood findings, etc. Here is my email. I'm the improbable dreamer at gmail.com. If you have a suggestion for a guest to come on the show, if you have somebody's podcast you'd like me to go on, great shout out to Nephilim Hunter. He reached out to a couple of his favorite podcaster. I'm going on one of them on the 27th, I believe. I will post the link to that show when it comes up. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, so I don't want to I'll tell you guys that on my next episode for the 27th. Yeah, otherwise, guys, sorry my visuals kind of cocked out mid-show. We'll hopefully have I'll work on my computer and get stuff cleared up, and hopefully it'll be good for the next episode. We will leave it at that for the evening. I appreciate all you guys tuning in live tonight. Thanks for your patience with my visuals going out. I will see you guys on Thursday, the 26th, where we will be right back here questioning everything. Hope you guys have a great evening. And until next time, question everything, friends. Have a great night.